What's up, guys? Mark Ryan here with Seth and Derek showing off Street Fighter 3 Third Strike Online Edition. That's the full title, right?
Yes, it is.
So, wow, what do you want to show me?
Well, I think we should get started here in arcade mode. You can see all of the brand new, beautiful art that's been drawn just for this game, and those character select pictures right there.
Nice. This is much higher resolution than the originals, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll show you the terrifying original.
Is that an option?
Yes,
it is. Yeah,
oh, that's awesome.
Absolutely. The art that you see on the left there is actually the original art. It was done by guys like Ikeno and Akiman. We actually found the originals, rescanned them in super high def, and inserted them back into the game.
That's pretty cool.
So that picture of Ken there, that's the original, and so are those pictures you see right there.
And really, while Derek's going to be going up against the computer, we'll talk about some of the features and the trials that you're going to see on the left, but just to give you a little overview on what inspired this game in the first place. This was sort of the last, what we call sort of the last great masterpiece of the previous era of Street Fighter. So Street Fighter has a long history. A lot of people have just gotten back into it with the Street Fighter 4 era. But when we go back to the original, this is the last game that Capcom made after making basically continuous versions of Street Fighter, beginning with Street Fighter 2. We ended up at Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, which was regarded by the designers at Capcom and a lot of players around the world as sort of the apex of Street Fighter. It was actually also what sort of kept us from making another Street Fighter, because they were sort of like, you know, it was almost 10 years between this title and Street Fighter 4, just because we didn't know what to do next. We're like, geez, we really thought we nailed it.
Yeah.
But the game wasn't that popular at the time of release, just because it was a very different environment. It was a challenging title that, and people's interest in fighters had sort of was lower, and there wasn't good online resources, and the ports that were available weren't very good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I brought that up earlier, that the only console version, sort of at the time that Third Strike was still played, was the Dreamcast version, which had its problems.
Yeah, it wasn't quite there, and it wasn't what people were looking for, and of course, if you can't play online, why bother? So that really brings us to Street Fighter 3 Third Strike Online Edition, which is not only one of our most fan-requested titles, so trying to do right by those guys, but also just sort of our look back at sort of what made this game, why it was considered such a masterpiece, and why people have kept playing it sort of competitively for 10 years, and trying to reawaken the world to that. And the time has really never been better, both with great online tools, which Derek will be talking about as we go on here, but also just that sort of level of understanding and interest in fighters hasn't been higher in a very long time. So I think people are really smart, they're ready for it, and they want to understand what was making this such a classic.
All right, so what's happening on the left-hand side of the screen?
So those are our dynamic challenges. Get pushed to you as you're playing a match.
So in just like any mode, in arcade mode and versus mode? Or?
Yeah, every mode in the game actually has these things. So Trials mode has them, the arcade mode has them, the online modes have their own set. And there's hundreds of them. They reward you for playing effectively or stylishly. So for example, if you do combos, you can see them updating on the side over there, or if you parry moves. And they get progressively more interesting and more difficult. Like they start out pretty simple, then they slowly walk you through doing things like parrying whole supers and red parrying things and doing big, long, fancy combos. So they kind of provide some incentive to, have some fun while you're playing.
What's sort of, I don't know, what's the reward for completing these things?
Good question, yeah. So you see the points listed down below, they're called VP. That stands for vault points. And Derek, why don't you take us into the vault and show us what's in there?
So the vault points are earned for doing a lot of different things. Obviously, you can get them just by playing and completing the challenges, but also for doing trials and playing online and things like that. And basically, they tie into our unlockable system. So we have this giant area called the vault, which I'll take you to in just a second, which is just stocked with all kinds of content for you to look at. And not just look at, but listen to and things as well. So there's art from the original game, there's concept art, there's also brand new art that was made just for this game. There's also things like unlockable movies, such as the original game's intro, or stage backgrounds, which I'll show you right here, that you can zoom in and scroll through and check out. So here's one example of those. We also have remix themes of the main menu music, the character select music, and all the character music. And those are toggleable, so you can, if you don't want to use our remix versions, the original game music is still in there too, and you can listen to the original music in its original glory.
And this music was remixed by, of course, Simon Bicklund, who did the Bionic Commando Rearm soundtrack. If anybody remembers that. That was a particularly hot soundtrack that people really loved. And I think he's done an amazing job on the the remixes here for Street Fighter 3 Third Strike.
That's cool.
Right. So here's one example of the concept art that I was talking about earlier. You can see some of the original artist's notes in the margin over there.
What does it say?
That's a good question. I can't read it, unfortunately. But and then here's some of the brand new art that was made just for this game by Stanley Lau. So kind of contrasted there.
We've also got some of our favorite fan art in the game as well, so direct contributions right by just people who are big fans and did something that we thought was awesome and included that as well as unlockables.
That's cool. Is this an example?
This is an example of one of the winners of our fan art contest.
Nice. Where do you guys do the fan art contest?
www.capcomunity.com, where you can find the latest. All right, we'll end the show and get back to Third Strike, but yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, so there's hundreds of unlockable items in the vault. Those challenges that I showed you earlier, the dynamic ones, there's hundreds of those available in the offline mode. But this is Street Fighter 3 Third Strike Online Edition.
Yeah.
So the online mode actually has even more of these things. So if you take a look here, you can see there's about twice as many once you get into the online modes.
So there are challenges that are unique to the online versus offline modes?
Yeah, absolutely. So here, for example, you can see tournaments have their own set of challenges. And you know, there's social challenges like for uploading replays and things like that. This really extends into, it's got its hooks in every aspect of the game.
Actually, that's interesting. Now, this is sort of an impossible question to answer, so I apologize beforehand. But if you were to estimate how long it would take a person to complete all of these challenges, do you have like an hour time?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how good you are at the game.
Yeah.
For me personally, who's been playing Third Strike for quite a while, it takes probably about 40 hours or so to get through all of the content.
Wow.
For someone that hasn't been playing this game all these times, so you have to complete tournaments and go through player match and all the rest of that stuff. If you're learning, it'll probably take a while longer.
It's also totally passive, so if you're not aware of what the challenges are, you can sort of check back in and see them. And also, you know, they're on screen in some of these views. We've got a variety of different views, so if you don't want to see a bunch of challenges popping up on the screen, that's the easily configurable option. You just push them off to the side.
Gotcha.
And play in widescreen, stretch mode.
Yeah, so I was going to ask,
all sorts of modes.
a lot of people might not be totally aware, but in the olden days, games weren't in widescreen. So this game obviously comes from an era before widescreen. It's playing in 4x3 mode here. What do the widescreen options look like?
So there's lots of there's two different widescreen options, actually, and we've got a bunch of other visual options beside. So the widescreen options, we have two of them, widescreen and stretched.
Okay.
And so the difference here is stretched actually fits all the way to the edges of the screen, but it does distort the aspect ratios of the characters a little bit. The widescreen feature, however, which you'll see here, tries its best to preserve the width of the characters, but the drawback there is that it doesn't reach quite all the way to the edge of the screen. So if you like your widescreen going all the way to the edge, we have that. If you like your gameplay perfect and your footsie's normal, then we have that as well.
And the gameplay, I should add, in all these modes is identical. So Derek can be playing in one mode, and you can be playing in another, and you guys will both have the same experience. It's just going to look different depending on your visual preferences.
He just turned on scan lines.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So this is our arcade cabinet emulation mode.
No,
it's made to make it look like you're playing on an arcade cabinet.
It's even got like the bowing on it.
Yeah, it does.
Like
It actually bows the screen, and it adds scan lines and stuff.
That's pretty cool. It's funny, actually, I saw this some product fairly recently on a tech website that added scan lines to your games. And I was like, this is for no one except for, you know, people our age, but it's awesome.
People that remember what a curved monitor even looks like.
Yeah.
It's just weird. But yeah, this was a lot of people's experience, so trying to recapture that. And I actually think it looks great. It causes a nice sort of, it gives it a nice smooth look to it.
Yeah, I was going to see if you could show some of the filters. So the way that you were playing the game before, the pixels were sort of smoothed out to make it look a little bit nicer, but that's not how it looked originally.
Right, yeah. Its original, in its original appearance, it actually looks fairly pixelated, and it's one of those things where it was always intended to be seen on an arcade monitor, which is why we've included the arcade monitor mode.
Yeah.
But now that people have these super high-def TVs, let me turn off scan lines for you real quick, and you can see what it looks like when you just take that natively and without doing the upresing stuff that we've done, just bring it straight to one of these screens.
Still beautifully animated, but the pixels are big. Yeah.
They are big. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I come from that era, but I love the way that the originals look. I know Marvel vs. Capcom 2, when that got re-released on Xbox Live and PSN, I put that into the original mode just because I like the big pictures.
There you go.
But it actually looks pretty nice with the scan lines too. So I think if I were playing this, I would probably leave it in the original video mode with the scan lines.
Yeah, and that's why we have the options here, because this game has a kind of rich and storied past. There's really a lot of people that have memories of it playing in various ways, and we really wanted to cater to as many different groups of those fans as we could.
Now, if you're playing online, it doesn't matter what the other guy's in. You can be in your own mode, netcode can have his own mode.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of online.
Speaking of online, our big feature in this game, or one of our biggest features in this game, is the inclusion of GGPO. Which has been a huge fan request for a long time.
GGPO is a netcode.
Yeah, it's basically like
right.
a piece of middle-ware, and I always describe it as the only piece of middle-ware that will draw cheering and standing on chairs from fans. Like anybody that has a lot of investment in these games knows that any sort of change to the online experience can really sort of throw you off, and everything you practice in your offline mode isn't quite there. GGPO does really a first-rate job of bringing that offline experience online. They've got some clever tricks to hide latency behind some of the fixed frames of the moves. None of that matters. All that matters is what you feel in your fingers. So if you've got your Dudley combo on point and you know exactly how it should feel, it's going to bring that experience online, and you're not going to be slowed down by someone else's back smash.
Yeah, I mean, the reason people like GGPO is it came out for emulators originally, correct? And like online fighting games before that were sort of not, it was difficult to play them if you were used to playing it without that latency.
Yeah, it was basically a different game, you know.
Yeah.
It was slow to the point where it just wasn't a lot of fun for people. So GGPO really changed all that, and we're really happy to be bringing it here to Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, where it just really adds a lot to the game. We've also got, if people want to learn more about Third Strike, we've got the ability to upload now directly to YouTube, and Derek can tell you some more about some of those cool features.
Yeah, so we have an extremely robust replay system, which records matches of you as you play them. And you can choose afterwards if you want to save them or not right there. And once you save them, you can upload them to our match server, or, as Seth mentioned, straight to YouTube from within the game. So the match database can be searched by all kinds of criteria. Or obviously you can go on YouTube and do it there as well. We also have this cool Watch with Friends feature, which lets you stream replays into a lobby, watch them with your friends, and chat about them over the headset. So the good news there is, let's say people do something like there's a big tournament over the weekend or whatever, you can stream in all of the replays from that tournament, and then you can sit down with your friends and watch them all back and talk about them and cheer on your favorites. And so we think that's a pretty cool feature as well.
That's cool. How quickly after a match can you stream that match?
About 7 weeks. Oh, no, I was just come up with some sort of bold lie.
Yeah, like
it'll take you 7 weeks to upload the match. Unfortunately, no, it's right away.
That's cool.
Right away, you know, within as soon as you press the upload button and the upload finishes, it will literally be uploaded to YouTube within minutes.
Yeah. It'll be right there. So
when can we expect this game?
It'll be August 23rd and August 24th on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, and it's going to be selling for 1,200 Microsoft points or $14.99 on PSN. We think it's a great value. It's been really created with a lot of love, and you know, we brought in some of the best players from the world, from around Japan and all over the U.S. come and test this and work on it with us, included the fan art, and really tried to make all the right choices for this game. Derek was brought in just to work on it. He's a huge Third Strike fan with a lot of history in the game. And we hope we've done it right, and it's a great opportunity for people to find out what sort of the last great classic of the Street Fighter, the earlier Street Fighter 4 era was all about.
All right, Derek, Seth, thanks for coming in and showing off the game. Excited about it. It's nice to see Third Strike finally get justice on the consoles. And for you guys watching, if you want any more Street Fighter 3 stuff or any other Street Fighter stuff, check out IGN.com.